The tactics I'm about to share in this video, if you don't take the time to digest all of it, you're going to be stuck in an endless loop of running Facebook ads that don't convert. Because if you don't grasp these specific principles, you are not going to understand why your ads don't work. And I'm not talking about things like cheap cost per clicks and the likes. I'm talking of leads and sales, return over ad spend. Listen, Facebook ads can be incredibly complicated, but with the tactics I'm going to teach in this video, you immediately see everything you've been doing wrong and how to fix it. Because it's not just about reaching people, it is about reaching people at the right time. Let me open up my laptop and show you what I mean. So this is one of the accounts I manage. In fact, this is actually my personal account and I love to actually test things with this account. So I'm just going to quickly hit this refresh button. You can see that for this year, I've already done over 6 million in ad spend, and you can see a different amount of purchases. If I keep scrolling, you see that the ads have been running for a while. We have tons of purchases, we have tons of different lead campaigns. So I definitely know what I'm talking about. So let's quickly dive right into the tactics. The first thing you want to understand about running ads is your ads objective, because the truth is that your objective determines exactly what is going to happen with your ads. So take for example now, currently we have the awareness, traffic, engagement, leads, app promotions, and sales. So people make the mistake of thinking, oh, they want sales, they want to drive traffic to their landing page, to their social media pages, and then they select the traffic objective. That would not turn out well, because the way the Facebook's algorithm works is it has categorized different people based on the actions that they actually take, whether on Facebook itself or off Facebook. So if you want people that are most likely to make sales, you definitely want to select the sales objective. If you want people that will become leads, you want to select the leads objective. If you're looking for engagement, maybe things like video views, then you definitely select the engagement objective. Now, where would you need traffic? Traffic is for people that do things like maybe AdSense arbitrage. They just want to generate traffic. So they want people to click on a link. That is when you can do things like that. Now, I'm not saying that you cannot use other options like maybe traffic to WhatsApp channel or WhatsApp group or something. I know that some people actually do things like sending people to their WhatsApp page using traffic objectives to try to get a sizable amount of people. Now, depending on your product or service, it can potentially work. But the rule of thumb is that whatever actual objective you want, whether you want sales, whether you want leads, whatever the specific objective is, you want to select that campaign objective when setting up your ad. Once you're done with your objective, the next thing you want to look at is your campaign structure. Now, there are different kinds of rules of thumbs to what campaign structure should look like. But what I love doing is to have one campaign for my cold audience, one campaign for my warm audience. So let me quickly show you what that looks like. So if you open up the cold campaign, you will see multiple ad sets inside. So I actually love to combine, because even Facebook prefers consolidation as against having multiple things happening around. So for your interest, you will have your normal general interest, where you go to the interest targeting option. You click on switch to original audience. Yes, use original audience. And then you set up your audience depending on what you're targeting. So say, for example, now I am trying to sell a digital marketing program. What I'm going to do is come here and type digital marketing. Then I would select it. I will also enter interests that are actually related to digital marketing. So very, very basic stuff. And you want to make sure your audience size is not so small. This is very, very important, because I know that a lot of people, while trying to get like super ultra targeted, they do like super small audiences, like 10,000, 20,000 people. Your ads are just going to be unnecessarily expensive. So what I usually advise in situations like that is, instead of streamlining as small as that, you might want to target a general geographical location around that area, and then use your ad copy, your creative, to call out your target audience. So say, for example, now I have a service and I only want it to show to people on the mainland instead of the island. I can target the whole of mainland, knowing that even people on the island would see it. And then in my ad copy, I will say something like, attention mainlanders, or if you live on the mainland, this is for you. Basically just to help to streamline, because currently you will notice that the audience size has actually been decreasing over the years, starting from when the iOS 14 update happened. So it's very important for you not to just box yourself into a corner by trying to over streamline. Of course, you make sure you set your gender, you set your age group, and all those things. So that's for the interest targeting. Now, another type of audience I like setting up is the audience plus, which is where I leave the default advantage plus audience campaigns. I just leave it there. I let Facebook figure out whatever it is with their AI. Because you see a lot of people saying things like targeting is no longer working. You should use zero targeting and all those kind of options. But my mindset is that you should test multiple things, because the truth is, and this is very, very unfortunate, but all your ads are going to stop working one day. It is just the way it is, because there is a very limited amount of people you can actually target on Facebook. So if you are running your ads for a long time, especially when you're running your ads over like a 1 month, 2 month, 3 months period, your audience is going to die out. So you have to have different buckets of audiences so that you can show to as many people as possible while also changing your creative. So that's why I love to test. You also have your lookalike audience, which is basically people that look like your custom audience. That's the warm campaign. Now, in addition to all of this, there's a specific campaign I also love running, which is the Advantage Plus. So for that, you just have to create a new campaign, sales. This is if you are going for sales in this case, and then you leave the Advantage Shopping campaign option and you just run your campaign. Now, on the ads level, I like to have 3 to 5 ads running, just 3 to 5 ads where I can then test and see which one works better. Now, the reason why I love to have multiple audiences, because even though I have just interest here, I actually have multiple interests, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. I like to do this because I love testing my audiences. You can never be sure which audience is going to work and which audience is not going to work. Let me show you what that looks like. So this is actually a great example of exactly what I was just teaching. So you can see that this is a single campaign selected, but under the single campaign, we have 21 different ad sets. So what this shows you is that I tested 21 different ones. I spent 777,000 and I made 2.1 million. I mean, this is super amazing result. Again, this is just this year. I can hit the refresh button. Multiple interest and then multiple LLAs, then more interest, more LLAs, different buckets of tests. Pretty much exactly what I was teaching here, where you have multiple interest, different kinds of targeting, because that is the only way you can actually scale your campaigns. You also want to see how you can filter people, not just with the ad copy and the creatives and the targeting, but also with your landing page. So that's why you have things like, maybe you have like surveys, or you have like a lead magnet, or the specific words that you actually write on your landing page are what you use to filter out people. I once had this campaign I launched. It wasn't doing so well at all. Then I went through the page, I looked at the emails and questions I'd been getting from people in the comments, and realized that I was the one that made a mistake. So all I did literally was change the first set of paragraphs on the landing page. That's all I changed, and suddenly the ad started doing amazingly well and it got super profitable, all because I filtered out the people that were not supposed to even have any interest whatsoever, and then the people that were supposed to have interest, I called them out directly. Another thing you want to look at when you're trying to figure out how well your campaign is doing are things like your click-through rate and your frequency. So take, for example, now by default you are told that your frequency should be at least 1%, that if it is less than 1%, then your ads have a problem. But here's the thing, right? It really does depend on things like your industry. Your industry determines it. As a rule of thumb, I definitely try to get my click-through rate above 1%. But if my campaign is profitable, I don't stress myself bothering about it. But usually it is something I actually look at. You also want to look at your frequency, which is actually very important, because your frequency is how many times a single person has seen your ad. So for example, this one that has a frequency of 2.57 basically means that a single person has seen the specific campaign, the specific ad set 2.57 times. Now, just like the click-through rate, it's not something I bother about, except the ad is no longer working well. So take, for example, now if I am running this specific campaign, it has been doing super well, been doing super great, and then I see that the ad has started declining. I would take a look at the frequency. If the frequency is the problem, then all I'm going to do is just tweak the creative a bit. The creative, that's the image or the video that I actually shot or used for it, because I want them to see other potential angles. They've been seeing the same ad already, they're tired of it, and that's why I do that. Another thing you might want to consider is the way Facebook shows the ads. They show your ads to different pockets of audiences at different times. So if, for example, this campaign is a campaign that's not doing well, apart from just looking at the frequency and changing the creative, another thing I like to do is to duplicate the ad set. So I just duplicate the same ad set. I don't particularly change anything. Sometimes I might just change the budget just very, very slightly, because that way Facebook would then try to show the ad to a different pocket, not the pockets they were already showing that was not bringing results. Again, this is something I would only do if the ad was doing very well. So between that and changing the creative, between those two things, you definitely get better results if you're implementing them. Now, remember what I mentioned where I said your ads are going to die. The truth is that every single ad you create is going to eventually die out. You don't have an unlimited number of people for Facebook to show your ads to. And that's why you need to always refresh your creatives. Now, you don't actually need to do a lot. So for videos, for example, you can just edit the first 3 to 5 seconds, just change it just a little bit. For your images, you might just want to change the design completely. You might change the copy, different kinds of variables, but you definitely want to do that just to rejig things. And it's something that definitely comes into play when you have a high frequency and your ads stop working well. One quick tip I actually give people is that you should try to check, and this comes into play if you are working with a client. So you want to check their social media pages for things like their UGC content, their original images, those live images that don't look like ads. You want to take those ones and repurpose them for ads, because I have seen that they are the ones that actually work best. This is not a situation of, oh, videos work better than images. You always want to split test both of them to see which one works better. Pick images from their social media pages and try to see how you can use them for your ads. If unfortunately they don't have such, you can actually teach them, show them examples that you must have seen, maybe from a swipe file or from just scrolling through social media, and like, oh, they should try to recreate this type of thing, just so you can have more creatives to use when running your campaigns when your ads die out. Another important thing I teach is never touch an ad campaign that is working well. Now, I know that we have the learning phase, and once you leave the learning phase, your campaign tends to sort of like balance out a bit, and then you can potentially make a couple of changes. But the truth is that most of the times when I do that, it rarely turns out well. So if you create a campaign, unless maybe it has like this super serious issue, like maybe this huge grammatical blunder that is bringing negative press, more often than not, I just leave the campaign. I do not touch it. So the only time I actually touch campaigns like that are when I want to scale them. And usually I do my scaling between 10 to 20% increase in budget within a 24 to 48 hours period, because I'm trying to give Facebook a bit more time to understand that, oh, the budget has been increased just slightly, and you don't need to change things so much, because if not, it's going to tank. For example, if you're running a campaign, it's doing super well, you're spending maybe $10, $20, $30 per day, and then you just double that amount, you might think that automatically your sales are going to double. But what's going to happen is that Facebook is going to try to show a lot of people at once, way more than they were showing before, and then they would introduce a bucket of audience that is not as profitable. So you will end up with a lot of issue. Now, something else I also love to do is I would duplicate the campaign and then potentially increase the budget. Now, the reason why I do that is because I want to see who the winner is going to be. If the duplicated campaign where I make whatever change I want to make on, if it becomes the winner, I can switch off the old one. But if the duplicated campaign ends up not working, I can easily switch it off, and then the previous campaign that was working well would keep making money. Very, very important. I do not touch a campaign so far it is working well, except I'm just trying to scale it to increase the budget. Highest thing you should do is duplicate it and make the change. One last important thing to mention is tracking. The only reason why I'm able to see results like this, I'm able to see how much was spent, I'm able to see my cost per result, I'm able to see my clicks to purchase, my checkouts. The only reason I can see it is because I'm able to track using the Facebook pixel. Now, depending on your client or your business, you might not be able to track things. For example, if you're running a lead generation kind of campaign, you might not be able to track your sales directly, especially if people convert offline. So you have two options. The first option is using the offline conversion setup, which takes a bit of technical know-how, or you actually liaise with the client. So you want to know what is working and what's not working. And this is very important, because here's why. You might have two ad sets, for example. One of them is bringing leads at $5 per lead. The other one is bringing leads at $7 per lead. So you, as a marketer, you would want to scale the one doing $5 per lead and kill the one doing $7 per lead. But there is a high chance that the $7 per lead campaign is actually bringing better quality of people, is giving your clients the exact result they want. So if you don't liaise with your clients to know which one is actually doing better, which one they seem to be getting better results from, you're going to have a whole lot of issues scaling, because you will be scaling negatively instead of positively. So you want to make sure no matter what it is you are doing, you are tracking your results, because at the end of the day, you are interested in leads and sales. You are trying to increase your revenue. Now, I know that we've covered a whole lot today. We've covered audience, we've covered creative, we've covered tracking, and even scaling. Now, a lot of people don't teach the nitty-gritty of these things, but they can make or break your campaign, because at the end of the day, what actually matters is how much is being spent and how much is being made. Everything else is inconsequential. Now, I know that the audience setup and interest side of things always throws people off. So what I've done is that I created a very, very short 3-hour course specifically on interest targeting, audience targeting. It's going to take you step by step through the exact system that I use, coming up with new interests for new campaigns, especially when I'm trying to scale and do it successfully. I've dropped the link in the description, so you should definitely check it out, because I did a deep dive into all those things, different ways to scale your audience, and even troubleshoot a bit when your campaigns are not doing well, and how to scale them when they are doing well. So check it out. And until next time, see you in the next video.